Hello everyone, my name is Reza Sadr. Today on behalf of my team, I'm going to talk about our capstone project, which is blockchain in BC forestry, and it is about developing a roadmap for smart contract application in BC forestry. I hope you enjoy it. Well, here is our table of contents. First, we going to talk about the British Columbian forestry management, and we discuss about how no matter how much sustainable it is not still traceable, and actually traceability and timber traceability in general is the core component of our problem statement. And then we go over how Forestry DLT or Distributed Ledger Technology Proposal can address this challenge and provide a scalable solution for timber traceability and beyond. And then we talk about the risks and we develop some KPIs, and also we show you the schedule and time for implementation and Gantt chart. BC forestry, proudly sustainable, but is it traceable? This title effectively captured the essence of what we're trying to say here, which is highlighting the sustainability and regulatory challenges present in British Columbian forest sector. While over 90% of Canadian forests are publicly held, there are rising number of regulation, as you can see on the left side of this slide in the green box, such as EU deforestation or US Lacey Act, that they are pushing for uh, geolocation data on old growth forests, uh, which are effectively pushing this industry to modernize and digitalize and do a better job in terms of tracking the sustainable management of the forests. And of course, failure of complying these regulations leads to economic loss, operation inefficiencies, loss of stakeholders' trust, and also, of course, environmental harm due to illegal harvesting and such uh, uh, you know unsustainable forestry practices. And BC forestry players and businesses, they're also facing challenges to comply and go toward and accept these changes and execute it as soon as possible. One is BC forestry is highly regulated. The shortage of labor, lengthy paperwork throughout the whole process, and also the fluctuation of the lumber price, which significantly impact the industry all around the year, and all of which influencing and taking the toll from the operation efficiency, and also prevent the companies to invest properly to have the proper traceability throughout their supply chain. And public companies like Conifex are particularly concerned as it affects their competitiveness and market access. As you can see on the right side of this slide, uh, we try to demonstrate how complex the overall supply chain of the lumber market in BC and in general it is, from the harvest all the way to the sawmill and all the way to the hand of customers. As you already know, now what is the problem? And therefore, what we are trying to achieve here is to how we can present this solution, distributed ledger technology, to address regulatory compliance, sustainable forestry management, and supply chain transparency challenge that BC Forestry is facing currently. And One key obstacle here is the information asymmetry between physical flow of timber throughout its process from the forest land all the way to sawmill specifically, and how we can digitalize those process, those transaction at each steps, and create a transparent and traceable exchange of information. So we recognize the tremendous potential of blockchain technology and the potential of using it in the forestry and timber industry. Specifically, we wanted to focus on smart contract within a private permissioned blockchain to enhance scalability, ensure network participation, and also improve traceability across the supply chain. The diagram below demonstrates how blockchain theoretically can link various stakeholders and steps and contractors throughout the supply chain, from foresters to harvesters, to sawmill, to the consumers, enabling some sort of an upstream and downstream tracking at the same time. We of course facing challenges. Two key challenges are the complexity of deployment of blockchain technology, and also, of course, relevant stakeholders' participation. To the best of our knowledge, there has been no similar effort been even attempted or tried yet in BC forestry or in Canada in general. Having said that, there are some efforts, but for the sake of time, we're not going to delve into it. However, in this slide, you can see we identified what they are and what our shortcomings are. Yeah, in this slide, we wanted to establish the core definitions of blockchain and core benefits of blockchain recognized by enterprises, which are cost reduction and revenue generation. And what we meant by blockchain is actually distributed ledger plus a consensus mechanism. As you may notice in the previous slide, one of the key advantages of using blockchain technology is its reliability, immunity, and traceability and scalability. So if you wanted to go to the next level and fortify these factors, we wanted to consider private blockchains, which is why our Forestry DLT proposal is based on private blockchains, which are permissioned and private blockchains. There are so many key elements into it. I leave you to it to read over, and I go to the next slide. So far, we learned how blockchain technology can play a key role in terms of supply chain modernization. This slide shows the advantages of blockchain in forestry, such as traceability, transparency, and efficiency, but also highlights the challenges, including the need for digitalization, complexities, and also legal barriers and costs associated with the implementation of this technology. Moving to the Forestry DLT proposal, which we define it as a scalable solution for timber traceability and beyond, with the mission of exploring applications of blockchain technology in forestry supply chain, and the vision of assist forestry companies in enhancing timber traceability from forest land to sawmill and provide transparency for the customers. So the goal here is to develop a smart contract to verify the transparency of origins and traceability of timber throughout its life cycle. And this is also going to showcase the blockchain technology in this industry. So we have objectives here developed on the left-hand side. You can see that innovation, reliable solution for timber traceability and reducing cost and generating revenue are the paramount of our objectives. And also we define the scope for this project. In a scope, what are those? Out of scope, what are those? And also we identify how we are aligned with global objectives, especially in terms of sustainable development goals or SDGs. So of course, sandbox is essential to test and implement blockchain solutions in a controlled environment, so we can minimize the risks while ensuring scalability and compliance. We actually inspired by the Bank of England's digital security sandbox, and it allows us to explore the integration of DLT and forestry with real-world scenarios, safely addressing regulatory and also address operational challenges before full implementation. In this slide, we have our stakeholder analysis. In order to simplify, we try to put all the stakeholders into distinguished buckets, which happen to be three. One is the authorization. So the key function of these stakeholders to authorize the whole process. Of course, regulatory bodies, local communities, industry associations. And the second bucket is the transactions. They have transactional functions, which of course they are forestry companies and contractors and all other related stakeholders. And the third and last one is the monitoring stakeholders who are demanding this traceability and transparency, such as consumers, policymakers, and environmental stakeholders. This is a slide explaining the business cases for Conifex. We divided into different categories and sections in order to understand it better. For example, in terms of innovation and ancillary services, opportunities for Conifex is, for example, developing and maintaining this blockchain network. And the potential of this implementation is, of course, income for Conifex. And also Conifex's role would be mobilizing data and become a center and infrastructure for the blockchain. All right, so in this slide, we are presenting our envision forestry DLT ecosystem, which is actually integrating multiple layers of data for timber traceability, which is the core purpose of our proposal. And on the left-hand side, the first circle, you can see the oracles are intertwining to blockchain. Oracles are all the imagery data is coming from a satellite, drone, sensors and lidars, etc., now that are transiting and capturing the real-world data, and such as the different kind of species, wildfire, and everything, and then updates and contract regulations. And then at the middle, all those data governing the conditions that is fulfilling the smart contract. So the data governs the smart contract execution and develop process and ensuring that stakeholders can monitor operations in real time. And at the very end, you can see a platform for monitoring and engagement, which is allowing stakeholders to interact and track the system via decentralized applications or dApps. This ecosystem leverage public and private keys in order to prioritize access and transactions, which are eventually enabling transparency and data integrity within the Forestry DLT sandbox, which we discussed earlier. So in this slide, we can see another perspective of the same ecosystem, which is explaining how the blockchain technology evolves throughout three phases in the timber supply chain, starting with the data digitalization and tracking in phase one, and then progressing to automation and interaction between machines in phase two, which is an application layer. So from physical layer to application layer, and then culminating with regulation and certification in phase three across, as I mentioned, physical, application, and also the blockchain layers. One of the examples of physical layer input would be utilizing drone technology, capture all those rich imagery data, and then encrypt it and add it to our blockchain. In the application layer, as we discussed, the most important component is the smart contracts, and therefore we added a little bit of the definition of what we mean when we talk about smart contract in the business context. Another important decision-making process is what type of blockchain and what type of provider for blockchain technology you are going to choose. This is also some sort of an exploratory phase that you need to go through in order to find the most reliable and most scalable permission private blockchain. For example, this is showing Quorum that is already proven to be successful, working with many enterprises, as you can see below. Moving to this next section, we are reviewing risk management. So this risk assessment identified key risks in the Forestry DLT project, including stakeholder engagement, which is the most important one, and then unclear ownership, and then funding challenges, which is also a really important one, and also regulatory compliance. Impacts range from poor planning and decision making to the project delays and regulatory non-compliance, as you can see across this table. Mitigation strategy involves clarifying roles, securing sustainable funding, and adopting proper technology, as well as ensuring regulatory alignments. Therefore, active participation from all stakeholders is critical, along with the clear project resourcing and planning, especially from Conifex. Next, we are going to talk about key performance indicators. In this slide, we wanted to outline the key performance indicators, KPIs, for Forestry DLT project. Our main goal at the time of this presentation was to submit this presentation to Cambridge and also get their endorsement as the indicator of success at that phase, and also present this presentation to the Conifex board of directors, and therefore get their approval to go to the next phase, which is proof of concept, and therefore be able us to develop the smart contract. And then, as you can see, we wanted to have stakeholders engagement for the sandbox. So therefore, we defined targets like 95% uptime and resolving 60% of issues during the pilot project, and also achieving 90% of user satisfaction. Moving to the next slide, project schedule, which we adopted the phases in enterprise blockchain project based on CCAF dataset of 67 live enterprise blockchain networks, as you can see below. As I mentioned, we envisioned this project to roll out upon 4 phases, and each phase has its own milestone. For example, initial exploration, as we talk about in KPI, the milestone for it is to finalize and submit the presentation, and then follow it up with the taking the feedbacks and implement those. And within the next phases, we wanted to have the main milestone in initial exploration to present it to the board and move it to the next phase, which is proof of concept with the milestone, submitting it to Innovate BC to get funding for the next round, and hopefully we get to the point to secure initial funding and RFP to vendors to kick off our pilot and trial. Thank you everyone. I hope you enjoyed this presentation.